Dr. Emma Taylor, a neuroscientist, stood nervously in front of a large, cylindrical machine about to test her life's work, a device that could transfer human consciousness into a different body. The smell of disinfectant and ozone filled the air as she prepared to inhabit her younger self. The soft hum of the machine vibrated through the floor. As the machine whirred to life, Emma felt a strange sensation, like her molecules were being rearranged. And suddenly she found herself in her 10-year-old body, standing in a sun-drenched playground. The sound of children's laughter and the creaking of swings filling the air. The feeling of being small and carefree overwhelmed her. The warm sun beat down on her skin, making her feel alive. But as she tried to grasp the experience, she felt another jolt, and suddenly she was back in the lab, but this time in her elderly body, frail and weak. The beeping of machines and the antiseptic smell of the hospital filling the air. Confusion and disorientation washed over her. The cold, metallic taste of fear filled her mouth. As the machine continued to malfunction, Emma found herself jumping between different versions of herself, each one overlapping and blending together, creating a cacophony of sensations and emotions, like a maelstrom of identities. The sounds and smells of different eras and places swirled around her. The feeling of being lost and disconnected overwhelmed her. She saw herself as a child, playing with toys in a dimly lit room, the smell of fresh paint and new furniture filling the air, and the sound of her parents' voices whispering in the background. She saw herself as a young woman, walking down a dark alley, the sound of footsteps echoing off the walls, and the feeling of fear and uncertainty gripping her heart. The sensation of being trapped in a never-ending loop of memories overwhelmed her. As the machine reached a fever pitch, Emma's identities began to merge, creating a single, twisted version of herself, with multiple eyes and mouths, like a grotesque, surreal creature. The feeling of being consumed by her own identities overwhelmed her. The sound of screams and wails filled the air. The machine exploded in a burst of sparks and flames, and Emma's consciousness was flung back into her original body. But something was wrong. She could still feel the presence of her other selves, like a lingering shadow. The smell of smoke and ozone filled the air. The feeling of being haunted by her own identities overwhelmed her. As she stumbled out of the lab, Emma caught a glimpse of herself in a mirror, and for a moment she saw multiple versions of herself staring back, like a chorus of ghostly apparitions. The sound of whispering voices filled the air. The feeling of being trapped in a never-ending nightmare overwhelmed her. And then everything went black, and Emma's consciousness was consumed by an eternal, echoing loop of her own identities, forever trapped in a labyrinth of reflections, like a mirror reflecting a mirror infinitely. The sound of screams and wails faded into the distance. The feeling of being lost in a sea of her own identities overwhelmed her.